What's up, everybody, and welcome to No Risk Strategy, the show that's guaranteed to help you get good at Risk. I am Logan, aka LaserG, and today I'm going to be answering one of the most important questions in the entire game, which is how do you freaking choose the right bonus to take in Risk? It is such an important question. It separates the beginners from the experts from the grandmasters. Everyone can really benefit from better understanding this decision. And to answer that question, I'm going to be playing on one of my favorite maps in the entire game, the United States, my home and native land. It's basically the standard settings. We also have blizzards and alliances on, but it's progressive world dom Risk. Same as always. Take a look at the bonuses on this map. This is one of my favorite maps because of the bonuses. We have some crazy +4s and +5s on this map. A lot of noobs love to play this because they get really drawn to those bonuses. And specifically, they get drawn to this bonus over here in the corner. This is the noob corner of the map, this New England area. Ironically enough, New England is only worth +1, and then that New York bonus is worth +2. So it's really not all that great, but newer players really just can't help themselves when they see a corner like that. They just have to have it. So you see Yellow adding all of their troops there. Don't love that move from Yellow. I don't hate it either, and we'll talk about why in a second. But before we do that, we need to talk about high-level strategy. How do you actually win Risk consistently? In my humble opinion, there are two stages of any Risk game, at least one that's with progressive cards. There's the early game and there's the late game. Turns about 1 through 5, 1 through 6 are the early game. Everything after that is the late game. And in the early game, you have two primary goals. You want to protect as many troops as you can. Pretty obvious, right? You don't want to lose your troops. And then the number 2 goal is you want to spread yourself out across the board. That's going to allow you to make easier kills, right? Because you won't be blocked, you'll be closer to everyone, and it's going to make you harder to kill. Only once you've accomplished those two things can you think about taking a bonus, and that is the mistake that all of our opponents are going to make in this game. They are going to prioritize taking these juicy bonuses over spreading themselves out, over preserving their troops, and it's going to really cost them. Here you can see that I'm going to go for the Pacific Coast bonus, but I'm going to go for it slowly. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm going to give Yellow a fair warning that I'm trying to take it. I'm going to consolidate my troops in the middle, and basically I'm playing a 3-position play. You can see I have 1 position on the east, 1 in the central, and 1 on the west. I would say that 3 positions is a really good default. Sometimes you want to play with 2 positions if you're playing against weaker players. Sometimes you want 5 or 6 positions if you're playing really good players, but 3 positions is a really good rule of thumb. Here we see purple going for the southwest bonus, which is actually my favorite bonus on the entire map. I do like this play for purple. It's not amazing, but it's a pretty good play, and again, we'll talk about why in a second. But once again, really the key to the game is we want to be spreading ourselves out, and the bonuses are ultimately going to be less important than positioning. Now, that leads a lot of experts, masters, and even grandmasters to give what I consider to be bad advice. These players tell you to never take a bonus in progressive. They say that it's always a mistake. And although I agree that it's generally not a big mistake to not take a bonus, right? You're not making a huge mistake. It's a good rule of thumb. There are situations where taking a bonus is correct. And more than correct, there are situations where you need those extra 4, 6, 8 troops in order to actually win the game, in order to make really close kills and to avoid getting killed yourself. I would say for me personally, one of the biggest reasons I think I was able to get to Grandmaster after a lot of games is because I went away from this mindset of never taking a bonus in progressive. I felt like only noobs would take a bonus. That's not something I was going to do under any circumstances. And getting away from that really rigid mindset really helped me level up from already being a good player to hopefully becoming a great player. And that's what I want to help all of you guys do. If you're interested in that, please do subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more educational content, a lot more shits and giggles content coming your way. So please do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. All right, so let's get into it. How do you actually know whether you should be taking a bonus, and if so, which one to pick? Well, in a vacuum, it's important to acknowledge that taking a bonus is incredible. Getting 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes even more than that, troops every single turn is amazing, right? It can be 30 troops throughout the entire game that you get just from holding a single bonus. It is really, really strong in a vacuum. So then the question becomes not why should you take a bonus, but why should you not take a bonus? And that's really how I think about it. I think about it in terms of red flags. What are the things that I'm looking for in order to know that I should not be going for a bonus? And I've narrowed it down to 5 red flags. Here we're going to talk about the very first of those, which is what blue has done in this game. Blue has been going for the Midwest bonus. You can see over here, they've been going for that, and they actually hit a 4 stack of purple on turn 1 in order to try and take that bonus. Only problem is they had to hit through too many troops in order to try and hold the bonus. You can see just how many troops are in the Midwest, and all of those troops were not there originally, to be fair to blue. Orange did add their entire reinforcement on their first turn into the Midwest. But we could have seen that coming as blue, because orange really didn't have anywhere else to go, and they got 6 extra troops. You can see for me, I only have to hit through 2 troops of yellow in order to take this bonus, and I already gave yellow a warning that I was going to do that. Fortunately, we get perfect dice. We're now holding a bonus, really, really strong. I don't think we're going to get broken because we're allies with every single player except for orange. So you can see the difference, right? Blue has to hit through so many troops in order to take their bonus, whereas me and purple don't have to hit through a lot of troops to take our bonuses. And so both of us take it, and both of us are going to hold it at least for a little while. So red flag number 1 is you want to make sure to take your bonus, you don't have to hit through too many troops. Personally, the rule that I use to determine if it's too many troops that I'm investing in a bonus, I think about if I'm able to hold the bonus for 2 turns, am I going to recoup the number of troops that I lose in taking it? So for example, I took the Pacific Coast, that's only a +2 bonus, but I only had to hit 2 troops in order to take it. So I would expect to probably lose 1 troop taking the bonus. We did end up getting perfect dice, but I would expect to lose 1 troop. If I hold it for 2 turns, I would get +4. So for me, it's easily worth it. Again, in a vacuum, just thinking about that one rule of hitting too many troops. So I think purple and I are making a good decision. I think blue and probably yellow are making bad decisions just based on this one red flag. And here you can see an extreme violation of this red flag. Orange is going to hit through 8 troops of yellow and 2 troops of blue in order to hold a +2 bonus, right? So we're hitting through more than 10 troops actually, because he had to get there in order to hold a +2. Obviously violates my rule. Of course, he could hold it for more than 2 turns, but I mean, he could also get broken and never hold it. So that's why I like that rule. Orange makes a really, really bad play here, even though orange does end up getting good dice and taking that bonus. I really don't like that play from orange, and I especially don't like it because it violates my second red flag, which is don't start a war. And you can see here that yellow adds all of their reinforcements behind orange in New England, which is not surprising at all. Orange has made a mortal enemy for the entire rest of the game, and if these guys ever play again and yellow remembers orange, they now have a mortal enemy forever and ever and ever. You really don't want to do that in Risk. Everyone thinks that Risk is a war game. In actuality, it's a diplomacy game, and you can see that I'm allies with literally every single one of my opponents for that very reason. All other things being equal, you want to be friends with everyone, right? You want to be friends with everyone. By the way, blue gets a free bonus just handed to them despite playing terribly. So sometimes you see players get lucky, and obviously I like that take for blue. But here's the thing, guys. You really don't want mortal enemies in Risk, because the less that people hit you, the more that you're able to preserve your troops, position yourself for the late game like we talked about. It almost never makes sense to get in people's way, to go to war with them, unless you know almost for sure that they're going to die on the next turn and they're not going to be able to retaliate. Now, before you guys go crazy in the comments, I just want to reiterate one more time, everything I say in this video only applies to the board game version of Risk, Progressive World Domination. If you're playing Capitals, there are definitely times when you need to start wars with your neighbors, for sure 100%. Here's the thing though, very, very rarely when you're playing Progressive World Dom, is there ever incentive to really piss someone off. Almost never, I would say, is there an incentive to really piss someone off if they haven't done anything to you first. Because going back to the high-level strategy that I started with, remember that in the early game, our big goals are to preserve our troops and to spread ourselves out as far as possible. Holding a bonus is icing on the cake. It's a nice to have, but it's not something we need to do at the expense of pissing people off or at the expense of, and this is the third red flag, costing yourself a position. And this is really the big mistake that every single one of our opponents makes in this game, is they go so hard for a bonus that they forget about the key to progressive, which is to have lots of positions around the board. No matter how strong you are, and you can see purple is going to get pretty strong holding this +4 bonus here in the bottom, no matter how strong you are, if you're all in one place, it's not going to matter. As soon as the sets are 35 troops, 40 troops, 50 troops, 70 troops, it's not going to matter how strong you got in the early game. What's going to matter is that you're all over the board, you can make the right kills, and you're really hard to kill yourself. And again, every single one of our opponents is going to make this mistake. They're going to go so hard for their bonus that they're not going to be reinforcing their other positions properly. And oh, by the way, red went for a terrible bonus that they were never going to hold. They got frustrated, they left the game, and now they're a bot who just broke blue. And that actually brings me to my fourth red flag, which is don't take a bonus if it forces you to split your stack. You almost never want to be splitting your stack to take a bonus in progressive. Now, this is definitely the most complicated of the 5 red flags that I'm going to be talking about, but because it's complicated, it's the one that you see broken all the time. So few players understand that they should not be splitting their stacks in progressive. You can see purple is splitting, blue is splitting, orange is splitting. They're all trying to guard these bonuses at the expense of having one big stack. And you need those big stacks later in the game in order to make kills. We talked about the early game, and by the way, you can see yellow adding all of their troops by setting in early into New England. So that's why you don't make mortal enemies as orange. But anyway, you need big stacks in the late game to make kills because the early game is about spreading yourself out, about preserving your troops. The late game and Risk is all about making the right kill at the right time, and you need big stacks in order to make kills. Big stacks are much, much more effective than a bunch of little small stacks at getting kills. And so what I like to do instead of splitting is create one big threat stack. And you can see that's how I'm guarding the Pacific Coast, is I have one big threat stack that's there to do a little bit of mutually assured destruction to purple, right? Purple, if you break me, I'm going to break you back. That's the rule. And because of that, and because we're allies, we're not going to break each other. By the way, not sure if you guys saw yellow manually rolling my stack and telling me that our alliance is over. So we're going to have to go deal with yellow in a second over here. Yellow has decided to be the crazy one in this game, telling blue to attack them now. But in any case, the thing that makes this rule complicated is knowing when you can get away with guarding with just a threat stack versus when you would have to split. Because in general, if you have to split, you probably should not be taking the bonus to begin with. You can see in my situation, the threat stack makes sense because we have all these allies, because we have mutually assured destruction like we talked about, versus purple and blue are both next to the red bot, which means they're going to have to split to guard their bonus, which probably means they should be giving up on these bonuses. As much as that sucks, at the very least, if I was purple here, I would trust me more. And by the way, you can see me completely removing yellow from that position. So good job, yellow. You got yourself removed, and now you're stuck in New England. But in any case, it's really, really important that if you feel like you need to split your stacks, either you have to do that very carefully and only for a turn or two before you merge your stacks back again, or just don't take the bonus at all or give up on the bonus. Splitting your stacks is really, really bad for a lot of reasons. For one, because it makes it harder for you to get kills. And for another reason, if you get broken, if someone hits your smaller stack, you end up losing more troops than you would actually get from the bonus in most cases. So you're going to see that happen to blue and to purple in this game. Trying to hold their bonus next to the red bot, it's really a losing proposition in the long run. And you can see that red over here with their 7 is going to retake their bonus first of all, and then they're going to hit a 4 stack of blue. So again, blue not prioritizing, having multiple positions on the board. They're going to lose a 3 over there. All of a sudden, blue is basically in one place on the board. Really, really, really bad for them, obviously. And purple is probably about to get broken by this red bot. So trying to hold bonuses next to a bot or next to a really bad newer player, usually not a good idea. Now, those of you who are observant will notice that I just did the opposite of my advice, and I actually added 2 3s on the Pacific Coast next to my threat stack. Reason I did that is I wanted to disincentivize yellow from trying to break me, since yellow decided that they're my mortal enemy for no reason. Fortunately, orange just removed them from the entire West Coast, so now yellow is only in New England, in Maine, way away from me and everyone else, which is awesome. But there are some rare exceptions to the rule where you can have 2s like I did at the beginning of the game, or 3s on your other territories beside the threat stack, as just like a little bit of a speed bump, letting people know, hey, I would like to hold this bonus, and if you want to break me, you're going to have to spend your entire turn, or maybe they're not even able to break you, like yellow wasn't able to break me in this case. So there are some times when you want to have a couple troops, right? Like 2 or 3 troops beside your threat stack, but you don't want to be evenly splitting your stack basically ever in progressive, I would say. And once you really understand the implications of the threat guard and the no splitting rule, that's when it becomes so powerful. If you look at my Pacific Coast bonus, again, it's only a +2, but we're in the corner, right? We're out of the way. No one needs to cross through us at all in order to get anywhere. We're only next to our allies in blue, orange, and purple, right? We don't have to worry about a bot. We don't have to worry about an aggressive idiot like yellow. So it's a really good situation for us to be able to use a threat guard, versus if you're trying to hold a huge bonus in the middle of the map next to bots and aggressive idiots, it's going to be really hard for you. You're going to feel like you need to split, and that's a good indicator that you shouldn't be holding the bonus to begin with. Again, the bonus is a nice to have, and the no splitting rule is a really good rule of thumb. If you feel like you can get away with the threat stack, you can take the bonus. If you feel like you have to split guard, in most situations, probably don't even bother. Skipping ahead about 2 minutes here, and what I find utterly fascinating is just how many games of Risk are determined by bad attempts at taking bonuses. It's unbelievable. Like, you can predict entire games based on the first 2 or 3 turns of bad attempts to take bonuses. And remember how orange and yellow became mortal enemies thanks to orange's bad play, and then yellow kept adding behind orange? Well, now orange is going to take an abysmally bad kill on yellow. Yellow only has 1 card, and orange is going to set in early, costing themselves, I think, about 7 troops by setting in early, and they're going to slam into yellow and kill yellow, again, despite the fact that this is an extremely unprofitable kill. And then they're going to go ahead and finish the job and take a +1 bonus of New England, which again violates the first red flag rule of it's too many troops to be worthwhile. So a lot of rules that orange is breaking. You could argue that it's actually a decent play from orange because yellow was lining up to hit orange, and so at least now orange gets to knock yellow out of the game. They get attacker's advantage on the dice. There's a few things that are good about it in a vacuum, but the bigger context is orange should have never made yellow into a mortal enemy to begin with. So again, the games are very predictable if you start to see these patterns of bad attempts to take bonuses. And for newer players, the whole game is about taking a bonus, right? That's what Risk is. It's, can I hold the biggest bonus? And then as soon as I get that bonus, can I get an even bigger bonus, right? They think that's the whole game. And in reality, what ends up happening is the whole game is determined by their fails at doing that, right? And you can see here, blue is knocking out all the troops behind him, thinking it's going to make it easier for blue to hold that bonus. Instead, they're just costing themselves more troops, more positions. They're making enemies. They're doing all the things wrong that we've already talked about. So now it's back over to me for turn number 6. This is that crossover point from the early game where it's about positioning to the late game where it's about making kills. What I find interesting is that literally everyone in the game, all 5 players left in the game, including the bot, are holding a bonus right now. And of everyone, I'm actually holding the worst bonus, right? I'm only holding a +2 bonus, and yet I have the most troops of anyone, which goes to show it's not how big your bonus is, right? It's about all of those other things. It's about preserving your troops. It's about not getting into wars, etc., right? The bonus is just icing on the cake. You can absolutely win if you have the smallest bonus and if you have no bonus at all. Very important lesson here. And now I'm starting to think about making kills. So the set is worth 15 troops. I have that in the back of my mind, right? How big is the set? Are all of these kills worth it? I'm no longer worried about bonuses at all. At this point in the game, where the sets are going to be this enormous, what matters much more is the sets. I don't care about my +2. Unfortunately, purple did not get the memo about bonuses no longer mattering, and purple is going to violate my 5th and final red flag, which is do not take a bonus if it looks too scary. And you can see here that purple is going to take a second +4 bonus. So if purple is able to hold the southwest, and I think this is called the Rocky Mountains over here, they're going to be getting +8 additional troops per turn. That is way too many, especially for these newer players. They are going to be terrified by that, right? So I'm going to start to tell everyone to attack purple. Honestly, that play by purple is such a textbook example of every single red flag, and you can see red bot breaking them in both bonuses, right? They split their stack, which is not good, right? Because you can see here they get broken. They spent way too many troops to do that. They effectively lost a position because they put themselves all in one place. They made a ton of enemies, including me, right? Because I don't have a card now. If they were to hold both of those bonuses, where do I even get my card? So there's so much wrong with that play by purple. But again, it goes to show most players, the way that they think about risk is just accumulating more and more bonuses. As soon as they have a big bonus, it's on to the next one. How do I get more? And I would say that in general, bonus rule for you, don't take more than one bonus, right? It's rarely worth it. And once again, to get ahead of the comments, I'm talking about standard World Dom progressive with no fog. If you're playing the meta settings, Europe Advanced Capitals, and there is fog of war, go ahead and snowball, try and take the entire map, take all the bonuses. That makes sense. In this particular kind of game, almost never makes sense to take multiple bonuses. At the point where you're strong enough to take 2+4 bonuses, you probably should just win the game, right? If you think that everyone else is so weak that they can't stop you, they can't do anything about that, just win the game and put everyone out of their misery. Almost never a good idea to take 2+4 bonuses, scare everyone into thinking they have to hit you or you're just going to win, and it's especially not good when you're next to a bot, as you can see here. So back over to my turn, and we have some interesting decisions to make now. We're very evenly distributed across the board. We could start thinking about lining ourselves up for kills, but honestly, I'm happy to just be evenly distributed right now. I feel like everyone else on the entire map is kind of vulnerable, right? I'm not worried about anyone because you can see that purple is all in one position, red is all in one position, blue is all in one position, and orange is all in one position, whereas I'm in 3 positions. And I know for some of you out there, if you're experts, if you're masters, you're going to say, yeah, no duh, being in more positions is better. These guys are clearly not very good. What do I have to learn from this game? I can tell you, I see these kind of mistakes every single game I play. Not always as egregious, right? I like this game as an example because it's such like textbook mistakes. But you see this kind of play in every game where folks go a little bit too aggressively for a bonus and don't fortify enough of their positions elsewhere, and they end up in 2 positions instead of 3. So there are much more subtle versions of these mistakes that you see in every single game, and I do feel like everyone can learn a little something from this. So if you are enjoying the video, one more time, I'm going to ask you, please do subscribe. It really helps me out. These videos take forever to make, and I really do appreciate your support. I do this for free right now, so it really keeps me going to see all of the support, the awesome comments, the likes, all that stuff really matters to me. So thank you very much if you're still watching. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, maybe I'll save 4, 5, 6 troops from making better decisions around bonuses, but how much does this stuff really matter? After all, you just said the sets are more important than the bonuses, right? Well, this is why it matters. This is a textbook example. Watch as purple loses an 11 here because they don't know how to take the right bonus and how to guard their bonus. They've been trying to do this weird splitting thing next to the bot, and it's really not working for them, right? They're losing a ton. And what's interesting is purple held the best bonus the entire game. This +4 of the Southwest is a really, really awesome bonus. I love it. And it's especially powerful when you have the blizzard in Montana, right? Because he's cutting the map in half. So purple had a really good start. He held the bonus the entire time. He didn't get broken by his human opponents at all, right? He only got broken by the bot. And because red and orange both traded in their sets early, purple actually got the largest trade. So everything went purple's way in this game, so much so that they felt compelled to take another +4, like they were so strong they could get away with it. And yet, look at purple now, right? Purple has been decimated by the last couple turns, and it's because they made the wrong decision about which bonus to go for and which bonus to try and hold when their opponent was a bot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the game right here because blue is about to have the most important turn of the entire game. This is why it's often an advantage to go first, especially against bad players, is now this is lining up perfectly for blue to chain all the kills together and sweep the board. Orange is an incredibly profitable kill right now because remember they made that terrible, terrible kill on yellow before and they traded in early. So orange is a very good deal right now. Blue only has to hit 28 troops of orange in order to get 5 cards. They would set in, get the 30 trade, use that 30 trade to kill purple and get 4 cards, another very profitable kill, and by that point, they'll be more than able to kill me and potentially even kill the bot all on this turn. In fact, if we were playing against a really good player in blue, this game would be over right now. But the problem for blue is that he's suffering from all of those mistakes we talked about earlier. Look at his stacks, right? His stacks are split, as we said, and so he's not able to dedicate his full force to this mission of killing everyone, which is obviously the most important mission at the end of the day, much more so than holding the bonus was. So blue splitting his stacks is really bad. I mean, also low-key pretty terrible that he sent his entire force to go kill orange when he really didn't have to. So you can see him ending up with a 31 stack in main. Basically, anytime you have 31 troops in main, you did something wrong. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, right? So now those troops are absolutely useless. Even though purple is now very, very weak, he's not going to have enough on purple. And this is where another mistake comes into play. Because he was only in one place on the board, he now has to go all the way around and hit through a ton of the bot in order to have access to purple. So even though he has 31 troops in main, if he had done his whole bonus positioning game correctly, or even just a little bit better, he would have absolutely had this kill. And you can see here, he just misses it, and now he's realizing that he's missing this kill by something like 3-4 troops, right? And again, that's why this advice of never take a bonus ever in progressive, I think is a miss. It's a good rule of thumb, but sometimes the kills are just that close, and you need those couple extra troops, especially against really good players. So unfortunately, despite actually a good kill on orange by blue, that was impressive, other than leaving the 31 in main, but despite a good kill by blue, blue basically is handing me the game now, right? That same inevitable chain reaction where blue was just guaranteed to win if blue was a good player, I'm now going to have that same chain reaction, right? So I'm able to get this purple kill here, which is unbelievably profitable, right? We get 4 cards for basically free. And now we're going to use all of those troops to go and kill blue. So as strong as blue got by taking orange's cards, I'm now going to take those cards right away from him, and it doesn't matter how strong he is, right? Because the sets are so big at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and kill blue. You might be wondering why I didn't go ahead and kill the player who bought it out first. It just made way more sense to kill blue here. Blue was very, very strong, right? If we let them trade in, they probably would have had enough to kill me, or make it interesting at least. And so I think killing blue made sense here. And blue is going to be a good sport about it, right? I say good game and well played. He says well played to me. And we're going to go ahead, finish off our friend blue here, and then we're going to take out the bot. And by the way, the point here really isn't to criticize my opponents and say that they're playing so badly. Honestly, they played pretty well relative to a lot of games I've played on this map. Check out the game I played last week where I had 4 capitals on this map by turn 2, if you want to see a poorly played game. But in any case, the point here is not to criticize. Most players, including me, make a lot of these mistakes. Really, the point here is just to try and learn how we can win more often by thinking a little bit more strategically about which bonuses we want to take. I think we can all continue to get better in that area, and I had a really good time playing this game because I think it was such a good example of how to take the right bonus and definitely how to take the wrong bonus. I hope you guys enjoyed it. By the way, all of our opponents were beginners and novices. We're not totally surprised. I will say I'm pretty sure I've seen this General Tagawa guy, blue, in my games before quite a bit, so I'm a little skeptical that he's actually a novice, but in any case, it was a fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe. I know I said last time, but this is really the last time. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want me to review your game in the next episode, go ahead and send it to me at lasergamerguy@gmail.com. Thanks, and I will see you next time.